From the city of brotherly love, this is Shark Bite Biz with David Strausser.
You did it again. You just arrived at the newest episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your rock star wannabe host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during complete global chaos. As always, this episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsor, an SAP and Acumatica Gold Partner, Stellar One Consulting. If your business is using QuickBooks, Excel, or some other antiquated or manual processes, reach out to me, David at sharkbitebiz.com, or go to stellar1consulting.com or stellar1.io. We are looking forward to helping you transform your business. Now, let's get back to today's episode. What are we going to chat about? Well, we're going to chat about how to be a good podcast guest, which is a relevant topic because guess what? This is a podcast. So, who do we have today? None other than Noemi Beres. Noemi Beres is the co-owner of the Podcast Connections podcast booking agency. She helps entrepreneurs and business owners enrich their lives through connections, sharing their knowledge and connecting them to quality podcast shows. In addition, Noemi is dedicated to helping experts grow their businesses with interviews. She started to work in the online marketing field back in 2007. Noemi has a master's degrees in the Danish literature and language. She is a linguist, content creator, and quote-unquote master organizer. So, without further delay, let's bring Noemi right on in here.
Business strategy.
Noemi, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. Today we're matching twins, both in red.
Absolutely.
You just became Shark Bait.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming on. So we have a question I ask every single guest. Who are you? What's your background? What do you do for a living? Basically, in a nutshell, what makes Noemi, Noemi?
Well, that's a very complex, big question, and I could talk for
You
hours,
believe it or not,
probably.
that's what most people say, because it's like a can of worms.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. Well, I was born and raised in Hungary, Central Europe, and ended up living in Cyprus before a short detour in Ireland for 7 years, and now living in Cyprus for 12. And I became an entrepreneur in 2007, and I started an online travel-related business. I was basically a car hire broker for many years, together with my husband. And this was a great business until COVID hit in 2020, and everything's collapsed. And that was the time that we had to pivot and figured out, like, okay, let's start something else, something new. And that's how Podcast Connections, podcast booking agency, was born in March 2020.
That's how this podcast was born.
Exactly. There's so many things were born during that time. So yes, we celebrate our 4th birthday, basically, next month. So, yes.
Okay. So you have about a year more than me. We've been doing it. Well, I guess it will be 4 years this year. It'll be 4 years. Yeah, we have 8 seasons. As of recording this episode, we're at episode 233. Like, it'll probably be 236 or 237 to give an example, because we're kind of recording batches. But that's really, really cool. So one of the reasons that we have you on is, first off, full transparency. Noemi actually does provide us with a lot of our amazing guests. Some of them are listeners to the show. Some of them happen to be clients of hers or from some other booking agencies. But she has some fabulous clients that have been on this show. And in fact, I think some of my more recent episodes or ones that are coming out, Nelson, I think his name is.
Yes, Nelson.
Yes,
Yeah,
Nelson. Nelson was one of your guests' clients as well, too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool how you're out there in Cyprus, but you are able to tap into the American market and get these really, really smart entrepreneurs and business-minded people as your clients. How do you do that?
That was actually interesting, because when we started our business, we started to reach out to female entrepreneurs in the US, and they were all in the e-commerce niche. So we just needed that, like their voice needed to be heard. And that's how it all started. So it's basically just ecom female entrepreneurs. And then we just reach out to more and more interesting people. We did like cold outreach on LinkedIn. We just like everybody else, you just started to reaching out to people and started to tell them that like it would be so cool to work together. And somehow we convinced them. It's like, yeah, let's do it. Although like, who are these strange people from Cyprus reaching out and they want to book me on podcast? But we had to start it somewhere. So, and that's how it all started. We just started just rinse and repeat.
Wow.
Reach out to different people, and we just build it up. Yeah.
That must have took a lot of time and dedication, to build up a business, especially being foreign, to get into the American market. So really kudos to you. And again, you could see a lot of the guests that she's brought us on the show. So like she's found some amazing talent that she has under her belt. How many interviews have you personally given on podcast besides this one?
Besides this one, I started doing interviews 3 years ago. So I don't really know. I know because I have a Spotify list. It's very smart. Like you can do like a public Spotify list and you can add all your interviews in like in order. And I think I have more than 24 hours content of podcast interviews. And so the podcast interview in general, like how much, like 20, 30 minutes. So that's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of interviews. Obviously, most of the, podcasts that I'm in touch with, I'm a guest on too. Depends on the niche, of course, because if it's like for healers or something, probably I'm not there. But so it's like more than a day of content, probably. It's more than 24 hours.
Wow, sure. That's pretty amazing. I'll tell you what, listen to our whole podcast, all 230 plus episodes. It's a little bit more than a day's worth of content.
I guess.
But anyways, I mean, one of the big reasons I wanted to bring you on is because, again, this show is geared towards what I call 3Gs. Originally with COVID, it was how to pivot your business during COVID. Now it's the 3Gs, which is personal growth, professional growth, business growth. Okay. A lot of the people that listen to the shows, they're solopreneurs, they're entrepreneurs, they're young executives. And when I say young, maybe not young in age, but young in experience. And they're trying to learn more and they're trying to run their business smarter. Again, managers, directors, people like that. And a lot of them probably do want to be a podcast guest. So that was one of the main reasons I thought, like, when I was said, hey, look, I have an opening, and you were like, hey, I'll be on your show. I was like, okay, actually that would work, because a lot of the people on the show do want to be guests because they reach out to me to, they listen to the show and they want to come on and tell their story about their business and how they built it up and their successes and failures. So I want to hear from you. How do you be a great podcast guest?
It's very complex, obviously. First of all, I mean, you don't really need a podcast agent to be a guest. I mean, you can do it by yourself. What we do is just, we provide consistency and save you time, money, and energy. But if you have all those, you can do it yourself. I mean, there's something like that. And so first of all, do your research. I mean, you really have to dig deep into the world of iTunes and Spotify or whatever you're listening to and try to find the right niche for you. So you have to be super clear about what's your business about and what's your niche about, because those are the podcasts that you have to target. I mean, that's the first and most important thing. And try to come prepared always. Don't wing it. Like try to listen to a couple of episodes before you get on the show. So
you're talking about research in the podcast.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Research, listen to a couple of episodes, get familiar with the whole style, the vibe, what kind of questions they usually ask.
See, that's hard for this show because you never know what I'm going to ask.
I know that. I know because I listened to a couple of your episodes.
That's why I like it. I always tell guests at the pre-show, it's Joe Rogan-esque, meaning that you may have an expert in one field, but we go down every rabbit hole we can and just try to have fun and educate people at the same time. I mean, that's really, I feel that if you're not having fun while you're learning, you're probably not really learning. I feel entertainment and education go hand in hand.
So true. I agree with that 100%. It's just so important because if it's something's dry, I mean, we remember from our school days that like we had those math lessons or some kind of lesson. It was so
God, yeah.
dry. And I know my
I still
son is
can't do
having the
math. I
same
use a
trouble.
calculator.
I'm the same.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. So, okay, let's say you've listened to a few episodes. Like, how do you prepare then for your appearance?
There's a lot of things that obviously you have to prepare, like literally prepare yourself, like dress up, make an effort, because usually the interviews are on video, not just audio. So it's like, don't leave the
A
laundry
lot
behind
more
you.
video than the audio,
Yes,
I think now.
exactly. A
Video
lot
has
more
finally
video.
caught
Yeah.
on. We've
Yeah,
been video
it's
since day
there.
one.
Yes. So like, don't leave the laundry behind you, and just try to have like a clear background, like get prepared, like mentally, physically, and the way you look like. And then of course, you have to have your topics, talking points ready to talk about. And those things are like, you have to remember those. And also try to create your story, like, because everyone has a story and you have to share that story to your audience, because the better the story is, the audience will be much more engaged in that episode. So you will help the
Right.
host as well. I mean, it has to
Well,
be kind of entertaining as well, not just like
right.
everything is perfect in your life, but no, I mean, everybody went through something in their life and in their
Trials
business.
and
So
tribulations, right?
exactly, ebb and
And
flow. So
yeah, I've had some of those guests where it's like, oh, everything's perfect. We give things, and then I look at some of the comments like, oh, this person's like. There's one guest particular that gets a lot of hate messages
oh my God.
on his video, and I leave him up because I don't really censor what comments are left when they're left on videos, although I will do call to action, everybody out there. I do want more engagement. Like, leave your comments, leave your thoughts, leave your
Yeah.
opinions, whether you like it or not. And there's always a question of the day at the end of each episode. Make sure you all answer it. But back to what we were talking about with the engaging conversations. I mean, there is an art, and this took me a little bit to learn. If you look at our earlier episodes, like the first 200, I know, the first like probably 25 episodes or so, it really did, it is an art of having a natural podcast conversation like what we're having now.
Yeah.
How does a guest prepare for something like that where it's not like a scripted conversation?
Practice. It's just, you need practice. I remember my first interview back in when was it? 2021. I just started doing podcast guesting 2021, and it wasn't much fun. It was like, yeah, you have to really get into the practice. Just have a natural conversation and just disregard that, like, like maybe thousands of people will listen to that interview. Just have a normal conversation between two people, and that's all you need. Just try to be conversational. Don't be so stiff, like, just like a friendly conversation between two humans who just met, or they know each other, or
Yeah.
just
Like I told you pre-show, like
yeah.
goal is of every show is like, hey, we've been best friends forever. Now we have known each other, though we've never spoken to each other,
No, never.
but we've communicated quite a bit through email, and it's always, it's easier for some guests than other. I found in my experience, like some guests I might end up talking a little bit more than they do, and I have to kind of carry the conversation. I remember one guest, for example. Now he is used to talking on mainstream media, so
Right.
he's used to giving short, sweet, simple 15-second answers. And that was a little bit hard because you're trying to get 25, 30-minute conversation. And it's like you really can't do that if they're given, that short of
Just the
an
PR
answer.
replies, yeah, just
Right,
the PR
right, right,
replies, and that's
right.
all.
That's always been kind of difficult. So your goal is what? Just straight out practice, practice, practice?
Yes, just rinse and repeat. I mean, that's all you need. Obviously, there are different type of people, and the ones they love their monologue, and I know those people too, and you can just stop them, and it happens a lot. And that I listen to those podcasts, and I there should be a balance between between the questions and the replies. I think that that's very, very important, because like I had an interview with a very sweet podcast host before, but she was very overpowering. So I was just sitting there basically. And because I didn't want to interrupt her because that seemed so rude. So I was just like, cool. I just replied when she asked me, but it wasn't like a 50-50 type of conversation. I think that's really important to find a balance, like the middle way in everything in life, in business, in personal life, and in podcast interviews too. Just like trying to balance it out. I think that's important for sure.
I try to shoot 50-50 or 60-40 with them maybe speaking a little bit more than me. Sometimes it might be reversed, but it really depends on the vibe between myself and the guest. And like I said, some are harder than others because like I've had one guest on here where it was his first interview ever, and that was a little bit of a tougher interview. But because I was more experienced as a podcast host, I was able to carry him through it. And asked the right questions, and he came out of it fine. He looked good, he sounded good, and we were able to pull out the points, but the key points that he wanted to make. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about with that. And that kind of goes into the next topic that we were going to talk about, which is respecting the host and the audience. What type of etiquette should the podcast guest have? I mean, he touched on it a little bit as far as making sure like you're dressed, that there's no dirty laundry, but what other tips do you have as far as that goes?
I think the most important tip is to treat it with respect. So meaning, don't treat the podcast as an advertisement, because it's not for your business. It's you're there because you need to share your knowledge, you need to share your story, to have that audience, to get something across this interview, and not because you wrote a book, or you're a coach, or you offer a service or something. That's important, and there's a place and time for that, to do that, usually at the end of the show. But I had heard these horror stories from podcast hosts when I was a guest. It's like I had this guest, and she was a writer or something, and it's like, okay, so can we talk about this or that topic? Oh, you can find it in my book, or you can find it in my book. And they just stopped the recording. The host stopped the recording because it's like, see, I mean, I need to talk about the topics. I mean, your opinion about the world, about everything, not just like, let's check it out in my book. This is not an advertisement. Don't treat it as it is. I mean, it's much more important.
Yeah, that's another tip that I usually give most of my guests as well too. Like, hey, look, I understand you're probably on here because you do have something that you want to pitch other than, just your, than just your story itself, whether it's a book, whether it's, a service or whatever it may be. But try to, not be salesy, because then people are going to turn it off and they're not going to listen. Save that to the end when you'll have the last couple minutes to promote whatever the heck you want to promote, and then that's a time to promote. What I want to do is establish you as a subject matter expert, so that way then when you do promote yourself, people actually want to reach out to you.
So true. I agree 100%. That's the most important part. And share your knowledge, because that's why people listen. Like I listen to so many podcasts, and that's what I love about my job, because I love learning. So when you listen to a podcast, you always learn new things. But when you tune in to a podcast and you don't learn anything, just pure sales, I mean, you don't want to listen to that again. I mean, that's
You're right. And that's where, like, again, we focus on what we call the 3 Gs, because we want people to learn, we want people to grow. And that's part of the reason why the first question, the tradition of the show, is who are you? Because I'm kind of setting up the guest to explain who they are. so that when they do speak on whatever they're speaking on, people know them as a true subject matter expert in that area.
So yeah, absolutely. And that's why you need to be clear about your story and practice your story, because especially when we have like a new client on board, some people, they don't really know how to tell their story. So storytelling is a really important part of podcast guesting. So we have to be like super clear about that too, like what kind of story you have and share, and how can you share that with the audience. So that's one of the things that you have to learn. Obviously, we weren't born to tell our stories like immediately, but I think we learn as we go. And yeah, it helps a lot
Yeah.
just to listen to other people, how they tell their stories. And it's very fascinating. And I learned so much from these people.
Oh, me too. I mean, I view almost every episode I do as a master class, because I'm getting educated in some area that I may or may not know about. I may be an expert in the area, but there's still something that I'm learning in that episode. I mean, there's not been one episode that I haven't learned at least one thing from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's
So
great to be a host. Yeah. Just you
yeah,
can
yeah,
learn.
it is. It is. It is. It's amazing. I love it. It's a great privilege, but it takes a lot of commitment, takes a lot of work. I mean, again, we've been doing it for over 3 years, and 230 plus episodes. I think I said that 5 times already, but with all of that, we are, like we're very dedicated on our punctuality as far as making sure that there's a new episode every Monday. And then we do take a couple weeks off between seasons, but
Right.
once season starts every Monday, 6 a.m. Yes, every now and then some kind of glitch may happen where I might put 6 p.m. instead of 6 a.m. And then I notice, oh crap, it's 8 o'clock. I put the wrong time down and I gotta publish it right away. But those are very far and few in between. But for the guests, punctuality also matters, does it not?
Absolutely, absolutely. Respect, I mean, being respectful with their time. So if you have, another engagement or something happens, let them know in advance. Not just don't no shows, because no shows are not good for anyone. I mean, obviously everyone is busy, and I know hosts are really busy people, and there's there are a lot of interview schedules. So just be on time. And if you can be there on time, message them, tell them upfront, because that's just so important. Obviously, there's
Yep.
always anything can happen like in your
Yeah.
life, and something needs to be rescheduled, but then just tell them in advance if you
Yeah.
can.
Kind of like I told you that I
Yeah.
think yesterday, even like, hey, like I got a hot deal coming in and a lot of requirements and it's a priority. You need to push her interview back just by a few minutes. And I barely ever push back interviews or reschedule interviews, but it does happen every now and then
It
because
happens. Yeah.
uh, I have a business that I'm running, that I'm selling for, that I'm working for, and I have those commitments as well too. Just like a small business owner who's a guest has those same commitments to make sure that their business is running. And sometimes the unforeseen happens, and whether it's you're sick, the kids are sick, whatever it may be, and just letting the guests, I think letting me know, for example, and not just have me waste 15, 20 minutes waiting to see, is this person showing, is this person not showing?
I know.
It drives
Yeah.
me nuts when they flake.
Yes. I mean, that's no shows are not good. I mean, but luckily, I don't know, I'm so lucky with my clients, because they always show up when they say,
Yeah.
when they have the time to show up, they show up. And I think that's really important to have
Oh
a
yeah,
guest like
no,
that, for sure.
definitely. So a couple quick questions here before we wrap up, and we'll go through these a little bit quicker. But what about promoting your episode? I tell every single guest that it's a mutual effort. Like, hey, I got an audience
Absolutely.
built, but I also want to be able to reach your audience and your clients as well too. Plus, it's putting you in a good light. You know what I mean? It's something
Yeah.
that you're going to want to share to your network.
Yeah, that's what I tell my clients as well. It's a win-win situation. Uh,
Hmm.
you can create,
It's
I
free
mean,
marketing for you.
it's free marketing. I mean, first you create evergreen content. which will stay in Google forever, basically.
Right.
If they don't delete if they don't delete the podcast, it will be there and stay there. So you can create as much as content as you want with the permission of the host, obviously. And you can cut it up. You can make audiograms, videograms, quote cards, anything. And you can use it like for example, I'm just like repurposing my content now from back like 2022, 2023, and I'm just using my content again. I'm just like putting in like a new, putting in a new little wrappage or packet or whatever. So I just spice it up and just put it on LinkedIn again and share the links. It's just so important. I mean, it's free content and it's so time consuming to create content. And here are these interviews. You can use them like forever.
You'll be surprised how many guests actually do not promote it, or even though that they're tagged in LinkedIn where I post every episode, they don't even like it or comment on it or anything like that. A lot do, but a lot don't, and it kind of mind-boggling as well, because they'll write a thank you note or something like that, like, "Hey David, that was incredible," but then when the episode comes out, it's like nothing. It's like it doesn't exist to them, and that's kind of crazy. Where other ones are, max to the walls, crazy.
I know.
So
yeah, you just you share it everywhere. But that's the point. That's the whole point you're doing, because some people treat the show like the interviews like, okay, I've done the interview, that's all, next one. But it's not. I mean, you're establishing a relationship with someone, and this is just the beginning. Obviously not for us because we already knew each other, but for some people, they are on the show, they talk to you, and it's like you can have a masterclass together. You can have something together. You can hire them even just for a job. It happened before. Or I was on a show before and I really loved this podcast, and the host she was amazing and I really respected her. And after the interview, like after 30 minutes, we stopped the recording and she said, "I want to hire you. I want to work with you." And it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And since then we've been working together. So there are endless opportunities. Awesome. Thanks to that, like there's so many opportunities. So please share the content. It's important, and just repurpose it in any way you can.
Yeah, usually I don't let people publish the full episodes, but I will let them, like, hey, you want to take a snippet or a segment or something like that? Go for
Anything. Exactly.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Now let's finish up real quick with follow-up etiquette. What do you think is the best follow-up etiquette for being on a podcast?
First of all, just say thank you. I mean, that's just two simple words, but they mean so much to other people. Just, send a thank you note and just appreciate their work. I mean, that's just so important. And
I'll be looking forward to your thank you note.
Yes, I will. I will make sure to do that.
Okay. Let's see if you practice what you preach. No, I'm kidding.
I try my best.
Okay. Perfect. But anyways, hey, Noemi, this was incredible, because I really think that we've covered, between both of us, but especially you being the expert, being a booker to get people onto shows like Shark Bite Biz. Hearing your knowledge and expertise and sharing it was really incredible. Thank you so much for coming on. Please tell us, where can people find out more about you? Where can they find out more about your business? Share all the details you want to share.
Now it's time for the advertisement.
Now it's time for the advertisement.
Now it's time, yes. Yeah. So please visit our website, which is podcastconnections, plural.co, not com. And you can always find me on LinkedIn. If you type my name in, Noemi Beres, there's a microphone next to my name, so you will find me. And I'm also on Instagram, but it's a bit different because it's also Noemi Beres, but I'm also an artist. So it's more about my artistic life.
Is that your art behind you?
Yes, they are. I make collages, hand-sewn collages on canvas. So,
They look beautiful. Thank you. Hey,
appreciate it.
Noemi, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your knowledge. You are a true rock star, and I'm looking forward to getting your next guest on the show.
Thank you so much, David, for having me on the show. I truly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow, that was an incredible chat with Noemi, right? First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked those warm and fuzzies, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. But if you really want to help us out, because you know Shark Bite Biz is the greatest kept secret in the world of small business, please share us out to your friends, your colleagues, your family, wherever you dwell in the interwebs. I'd love to see nothing more than Noemi Beres and Shark Bite Biz out there trending. So anyways, awesome stuff, Noemi. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your expertise. And I really do love how you help business people understand how to give an interview in a business podcast. And remember, everybody out there, if you're interested in getting her services, the link is down below in the description. Question of the day: what makes a great podcast guest? I'd love to see your comments down below. I'm sure we could debate this, in and out. If you want to be on the show, interviews at sharkbitebiz.com. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, $3 a month, you can become a baby shark. Every dollar in is every dollar out, because we want to help everybody grow with the 3 Gs: personal growth, professional growth, business growth. And remember, shout out to our sponsor, Stellar One Consulting. StellarOneConsulting.com, StellarOne.io, David at SharkBiteBiz.com. Doesn't matter. Reach out anywhere, any site, any email. If you're on an old, antiquated system and you want to get your business to the next level, automate those business processes. QuickBooks is giving you some funky stuff. Whatever it may be, inventory problems, whatever, just reach out. Again, StellarOneConsulting.com, StellarOne.io, or just email me, David at SharkBiteBiz.com, and I'll make sure that you're personally taken care of. Now, you all know this by now, but I'll say it once again. I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Ciao.
You've just experienced Shark Bite Biz with Dave Strausser. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show to help us spread the word about personal, professional, and business growth. Want to be on the show? Send an email to interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. Special shout out to our sponsor, an SAP and Acumatica Gold Partner, Stellar One. Get off QuickBooks. Automate businesses' processes and have your business reach the stars. StellarOneConsulting.com or reach out to the show. Till next episode.